Emily, thank you for being willing to spend some time with me today as we get ready to continue with our chapel and do our next student story. I'd just like to interview you for a few minutes to hear a little bit about your summer, because I've heard you've done some amazing things. But first of all, why don't you tell me your name, what grade you're in, and maybe how long you've been at New Life?
So my name is Emily. I am a senior this year, and I've been here since 4th grade.
4th grade. Wow, that's a good run. That's good. Emily, this summer you got to do something pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Would you tell me a little bit about what you got to do this summer?
Okay, so this summer I got to go on a mission trip to India, and it was absolutely amazing. I really didn't go in with any expectation at all, especially because we were just told don't come with expectations or they might be brought down or something. And also, if God is willing to use you, you don't need to come with expectations, because then sometimes it can be closed off. So just going to India was so amazing, just the life there and every person there that I got to meet.
Cool. Now, I'll be upfront with you, I've never been to India, but sometimes I know people don't want to maybe go on mission trips or get out of their comfort zones. Were you nervous before going to India as you were kind of getting ready, or was it just I'm good, I'm ready to go?
I was so nervous, just going there, because they told us we could possibly get interrogated by the government just because it is illegal to evangelize. So just preparing for it was very stressful for me, because I was oh my gosh, what if I can't tell them that I'm going there for cricket tournament, or and then we had to call our pastor teacher all the time.
Yeah.
And I was what if I slip up? What if I accidentally say youth group in the airport or something like that? And just learning about the culture was very interesting, but then also stressful, because I'm oh, it's so different from what we live in here. And it was insane, but it stretched me, because it made me realize I need to trust in God and not my self. And also it was so hard packing, because I'm such an overpacker. And we had, I don't know if anybody's seen my little pineapple that I carry around all the time, but it's this big. I brought that as a drawstring bag, and then my hiking backpack that was maybe this big, and that's all I had for 10 days.
10 days, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm kind of packing for me too. I'm a little bit just a backpack and go as well. So you went to India, where you really can't talk about Jesus, and you're really not supposed to. So that part's difficult. That's a different culture. When you were in India, what did you do actually? Well, I mean, when you were there, because you can't talk about Jesus, but what did you do?
Well, we went, when we first got there, we worked a lot with the boys' orphanage there.
Yeah.
The missionaries there have worked so hard to just be there for the boys and be a family for the boys. And we also helped with the cafe that they own there. They actually own 2. We only helped with one, called Mud Cup. Yeah. It's the most amazing food you will ever eat. And it's actually American food, better than Americans make. It was so good. And we also worked with the CrossFit gym. I didn't do that much, just because I knew we were going hiking. So I was I don't want to be too sore for hiking.
Yeah.
I want to be able to walk.
Yeah.
But I just was there encouraging the people and just helping them when they needed help, and giving guidance and stuff like that. And I think one of the most amazing things was just working with the boys there, because they are orphans, and we have orphanage everywhere, here and in other countries. But I think something that was so special about those boys was that a lot of them were kicked out of their families for believing in Jesus. And one thing that the missionaries actually told us was, how many of you people, to our group, would give up your phone, your home, your family, your school, your education, just about everything to follow Jesus? And in the Bible, it talks about just laying down your cross and picking up your cross and just following Jesus and letting go of everything. And that's what those boys actually did. They let go of absolutely everything to just follow Jesus. And here in America, I think that's something so hard for people, because we almost have it too easy to be a Christian. And they literally give up everything in those homes. Some of those boys, even my own age, and they just love Jesus with their whole heart.
So you're there with your church, you're on a mission trip. You can't talk about Jesus, but people there love Jesus, right? So when you were in India, Emily, were there things that you saw that you just I know the Lord is working in this, either in your own life or just what you saw through the kids? Because I think it is often very easy for us just to say, oh, I don't need to be a missionary, I don't need to serve. and I can do it anywhere, but we have to have the courage to do it. So did you see the Lord kind of work through that as you kind of stepped out a little bit of your comfort zone?
I definitely did. I think something that really encouraged me when I was there, God tells us, or actually I think it's in Acts like 1:8, and then somewhere, I think it's Matthew like 28:19 or something. Jesus like tells us to go out into the world and be missionaries, and not just only the world. Like you don't have to go across the seas to be a missionary. You can just walk out your door, be a missionary. But I think it just encouraged me so much because you can see Jesus there like no other. Like I see Jesus here like at school and at church, like obviously. But one thing as being a worship leader, not only here at school, but also like in my church, in youth group and stuff, I just love it. You can just see like the people worship with such like authenticity, and like there's literally just someone sitting there with a guitar and people are singing in Hindi, and I don't even understand what they're saying, but I can tell that they're worshiping Jesus, and I can still worship through that even though it's another language. And I thought that was so amazing. I think I experienced Jesus one of the most times. We were crossing this bridge and there's this river, and they believe that if they bathe in it they get their sins washed away from them, kind of like what we believe in Jesus. And I just felt this like power and presence come over me, and I just started praying for like the people, obviously not out loud, but just in my head, just praying for the people all around me. Like it's crowded. Like if you think state fair, that's like what India is all the time, just people everywhere. And there was like a cow right here, and I was like, please don't hurt me. And there's just people everywhere, and I just started praying for the people around me, and the people like bathing themselves in the river, and my team, and just praying over those people. And I just felt Jesus, his presence like working so much. And like literally even now, just waking up every single day, like Jesus, you are so great, you are so amazing, like our view was so beautiful, and just like looking out and reminding myself like the same God that made those mountains is the same God that made me.
Yeah. Cool, very cool. Now Emily, I've known you a long time, since fourth grade, and I've been really impressed just to see how you've grown in your own faith, and just who you are as a person, you know, to lead worship, to go on a mission trip to India. So one of the reasons we're doing the student stories is to hear the story about India, and it sounds like it was awesome. You kind of stepped out of your comfort zone, you took a risk, you went to a country you're not even supposed to talk about Jesus, and you found Jesus there, because you know he was with you, and you could kind of see the people there. But the other piece of the student stories is for our students. You know, what advice would you give to a student about missions? You know, one of our taglines is serve with compassion. You know, what sort of advice would you give to the New Life students about missions and why they should do it, and why maybe if they're scared, take a risk? You know, what would you share with our student body?
I think definitely going on a mission trip is like one of the most life-changing things, and I know everybody's going to say that, because I feel like you're most yourself on a mission trip, because everything's kind of stripped away, and it just like your team and what you have there. And you don't have to go across the streets or across the sea. You can go across the street and do it too. But I think there's something so special just like going to another country and just speaking to people, especially a lot of times there is language barriers. I didn't have that too much where we were, because we had a lot of translators, and it was just miracles on miracles. And I think it's just one of the most amazing things, and I recommend it 10 out of 10 because you need to go on a mission trip. And I know a lot of people are so scared because they're like, oh, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone, but it's okay to be uncomfortable, because that's how God stretches you and how God uses you. And like also River Valley has this amazing thing this summer that you can go on a trip for free if you go to the youth group, and that's what I did like 2 years ago. So if money is the issue, like there's an opportunity right there. And I know for me, like that was part of the issue, but like raising the money, God just shows you before you're even on the trip, like how he always provides for you.
That's awesome. You know, I remember kind of wrapping up here, one of our speakers in chapel, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, said, get comfortable being uncomfortable as a Christian.
That was Matt.
Yep, it was Matt. I remember it was him, and I think that's kind of what you've shared, is I was willing to be uncomfortable for Christ. You know, as you shared your story here, probably just to share, the most amazing thing that you shared with me is you're in a foreign country with people who don't speak the same language, but when they worshiped, you could see that there was a love for Jesus. And I think that's kind of what we hope for all of our kids, and hopefully they get to have that experience as well. So Emily, anything else you want to add? I want to just say thank you for taking time out and being on camera. I know it can be nervous, but anything else you want to share? I
don't know. I think you just need to just love Jesus with all your heart, and even if things make you uncomfortable, like, just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. You gotta go for it, and He'll provide. Like, He'll catch you every time you fall.
Cool. Thanks, Emily. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.